The movie kicks off in the year 1200 BC. The coast of Argos is under attack by the army of Tyrans. Destruction spreads as battles rage, and lives are lost in a blink of an eye, as the two armies face each other and prepare for a clash. Amid the chaos, King of Tyrans named Amphitryon came forward and challenges King of Argos named Gallienus to a one-on-one duel, with the term the winner takes loser's army and kingdom. The duel begins with both kings proving to be skilled and formidable warriors. They fight fiercely, neither gaining a clear advantage. However, Amphitryon eventually overpowers Gallienus. He lifts Gallienus with his bare hands and slams him on the ground. Then, he decapitates Gallienus with his own sword. Amphitryon celebrates his victory by raising his helmet on his sword and leading his army in triumph. The soldiers of Argos kneel before their new king, accepting their defeat. After the battle, Queen Alcmene visits her husband, seeking the reason for the destruction of Argos, as they does not pose any danger to them. Amphitryon lies by telling it's all for her, but she realizes it's really about the fame and gold of Argos. She tries to convince him to stop such madness but fails to do so. Desperate for solution, Alcmene, accompanied by Chiron, goes to the temple of the goddess Hera. She prays for peace and for Amphitryon's terror to end. Suddenly, Hera appears and listens to her plea. The goddess prophesies that Alcmene will have a son with Zeus who will bring peace and end Amphitryon's reign of terror. Alcmene accepts this prophecy for the sake of her people, and Hera names the child Hercules. That same night, Zeus appears in bed with Queen Alcmene. They share an intimate moment, and Zeus promises her a son who will change the world. However, their peace is disrupted when Amphitryon bursts in, angered by Alcmene's happiness. He searches the room, swinging his sword in anger, but finds no intruder. Frustrated, he orders his guards to find the betrayer, but to no avail, further infuriating the king Amphitryon. Months later, Alcmene gives birth to a son. Fearing disgrace, Amphitryon spares the child's life but names him Alcides, declaring he will never be as great as his older brother Iphicles. She then privately whispers and names the boy Hercules. Years later, Alcides has grown into a strong, brave, and handsome man. He is in love with the beautiful princess Hebe. As they share a tender moment together, Hebe gives Alcides a cherished talisman, hinting at an impending separation. However, their romantic moment is suddenly interrupted by Alcides' older brother, Iphicles. Iphicles informs Hebe that her father is looking for her and warns Alcides to stay away from the daughter of the Cretan king. Disagreeing with his brother, Alcides suggests they walk through the woods to clear their minds. As night falls, they hear a terrifying roar from a Nemean lion nearby. The brothers brace themselves for the imminent danger. The lion attacks and manages to injure Iphicles. Alcides then confronts the beast, and using his immense strength he choked the lion to its death. At dinner, Iphicles boldly claims that he killed the beast himself, claiming that Alcides ran away from the battlefield. However, no one seems convinced by Iphicles' story. To prove his worth and importance, Iphicles pushes his father to announce that Hebe has agreed to marry him. Hearing such declaration, Hebe is horrified and runs away, only to be persuaded by Alcides, who quickly follows her, leaving the others behind. At the palace, Amphitryon confronts Iphicles, scolding him for his weakness and cowardice, as his reputation got spoiled due to Hebe's actions. Meanwhile, Alcides catches up to Hebe, where she confesses her love to Alcides, suggesting that they should flee together tonight. The next morning, they attempt to escape, but they are pursued by the royal army soldiers. Alcides confronts some of the soldiers, and fighting them in a non-lethal way. Meanwhile, Hebe is persuaded by two soldiers, and she ends up falling into a river along with her horse. Alcides immediately leaps into action to rescue her. Unfortunately, they are soon captured by the royal army. Eventually surrendering to his older brother, at the palace, Alcides is brought before his king, where he orders him to a perilous mission in Egypt, a place from which escape is almost impossible. Upon hearing this, Alcmene pleads with Alcides to retreat, insisting he has a greater purpose in life. Despite her plea, Alcides is determined to prove himself and claim his rightful love. In desperation, she reveals the truth that he's son of Zeus, and his true name is Hercules. In the morning, Alcides prepares to leave, still skeptical of his mother's warnings. But before he departs, he promises Hebe that he will return in 3 moons and marry her, reassuring her not to worry. The unit then sets sail for Egypt under the command of Sotiris. On the journey, Sotiris informs Hercules that the king has provided them with only half the usual number of men, raising suspicion of a conspiracy. Upon arriving in Egypt, Alcides and Sotiris awaits in front of the cave entrance. Spectacle, as they haven't heard from the scouts they sent ahead, so Sotiris orders camp to be set up. Meanwhile, Alcides and Sotiris, along with some troops, enters the cave to investigate. On the other side of the cave, they discover their scouts hanging lifelessly, indicating a deadly trap. Shocked by the discovery, Sotiris quickly commands a retreat. As they make their way back to the cave's entrance, they are horrified to see the bodies of their fallen comrades scattered around, highlighting the brutal ambush they've walked into. 𝐒𝐨𝐵 and 𝐒𝐴𝐵 witnesses the upcoming enemy's army. They try to escape to the other side of the cave but are ambushed and attacked. 𝐒𝐴𝐵 commands his men to form a battle formation. Despite being outnumbered, they fight bravely, with 𝐒𝐴𝐵 showcasing his exceptional fighting skills, taking down many adversaries. However, their situation worsens as they are attacked from behind. Already at a disadvantage and severely outnumbered, their forces are overwhelmed. In the end, only 𝐒𝐴𝐵 and 𝐒𝐴𝐵 are left standing. After the battle, the enemy commander named 𝐒𝐥 finds the prince's helmet and demands that 𝐒𝐴𝐵 to reveal the prince's whereabouts. To protect 𝐒𝐴𝐵, 𝐒𝐴𝐵 lies and points to a dead soldier. Believing the deception, he orders the helmet to be sent to Amphitryon, confirming the supposed conspiracy. As the commander is about to kill 𝐒𝐴𝐵, Hercules intervenes, suggesting they sell them as slaves instead and spare their lives. Upon asking his name by the commander, 𝐒𝐴𝐵 proudly declares himself as Hercules, accepting his fate. Back at Kingdom, the royal family is informed of 𝐒𝐴�'s supposed death. Alcmene and Hebe are devastated, while King Amphitryon and Iphicles are pleased by the news. Meanwhile, Hercules and 𝐒𝐴𝐵 are branded as slaves, preparing them for the upcoming sale. Confused, 𝐒𝐴𝐵 questions why Hercules chose slavery over death. Hercules reassures him, expressing confidence that they will soon celebrate his marriage to Hebe. The slaves, including Hercules and 𝐒𝐴𝐵, are taken aboard a ship, sailing toward unknown shores. Meanwhile, Iphicles visits Alcmene, who continues to mourn for the loss of her son, and tell her he's preparing for his upcoming marriage to Hebe. The woman, who's still grieving for his brother, coldly reminds her of 𝐒𝐴𝐵's death. Alcmene comforts his Iphicles by saying that she will serve him well. However, Iphicles dismisses her, saying he wants a wife, not just a bride, comparing their situation to how his father won Alcmene. She responds bitterly, saying she feels like nothing more than a slave to Amphitryon. While at prison, Hercules looks towards the sky as at first moon and remembers his promise to Hebe, who's still unaware of the fact that his beloved is alive. Meanwhile, the slaves are brought out for a deadly gladiator match meant for entertainment, where Hercules learns that the only way to escape is to accept defeat and face death. Despite this grim outlook, he remains hopeful and reassures 𝐒𝐴𝐵 that they will eventually gain their freedom. In his first battle, Hercules showcases his exceptional fighting skills, kicking the hell out of his rival, using his training as prince to his advantage. He defeats his opponents with ease. At the pits, the host shows respect for Hercules and 𝐒𝐴𝐵, praising their bravery. 𝐒𝐴𝐵 encourages the host by describing the grand gladiatorial festivals in Greece, where they could win great fortunes. 𝐒𝐴𝐵 offers the host to let them fight in a high-stakes match. However, before that, the host proposes a challenge, that Hercules and 𝐒𝐴𝐵 will have to fight against his top winners, Half-Face and Humbaba, claiming that the winner duo will accompany him to Greece. In front of the statue of goddess Hera, Alcmene is confronted by Amphitryon. Enraged by her son's death, and with a knife in hand, Alcmene attempts to kill Amphitryon, but he sees through her intentions. In desperation, she boldly reveals the truth about Hercules' divine birth, declaring him the son of Zeus. In a fit of rage, he uses her own knife to kill her. Before leaving, he instructs Chiron announced the queen had committed an unspeakable. The next day, a fighting arena is set up, packed with spectators. The four opponents enter the arena with their best weapons and engage in a fierce battle. The face-off is intense, with all fighters displaying exceptional skills. However, during the fight, 𝐒𝐴𝐵 is trapped and wounded. Fortunately, Hercules comes to his rescue, tackling Humbaba and killing Half-Face to save 𝐒𝐴𝐵. Hercules then turns his attention to the only opponent, and incapacitate him not before throwing him out of the arena, killing him immediately. After the battle, the host cancels his deal, pointing out that 𝐒𝐴𝐵 is too injured to fight, and Hercules killed the only person who could accompany him was killed. However, Hercules refuses to fight any more battles for him, and even willing to sacrifice his life unless both he and 𝐒𝐴𝐵 are escorted to Greece. With no more gladiator left to fight, the host surrenders to Hercules' demand. They are placed on a ship, and Hercules and 𝐒𝐴𝐵 are finally taken back to their homeland, Greece. The next day, 𝐒𝐴𝐵 captures the elder Chiron just to inform him that Hercules is alive and will fight in the arena that day. As the arena is prepared with millions of spectators, Hercules steps into the ring to face 6 opponents simultaneously. The crowd doubts he will survive, thinking the odds are against him. While Hercules prepares for the battle, 𝐒𝐴𝐵 secretly begins rallying and assembling a new army to support Hercules in his fight for freedom and justice. In the arena, the battle intensifies as Hercules faces his 6 opponents. He swiftly kills his first adversary while skillfully dodging attacks from others. In a display of immense strength, he throws one opponent aside and continues to fight with incredible agility and power. As the fight continues, Hercules showcases his extraordinary combat skills, taking down each opponent one by one. After performing some spectacular moves, Hercules eliminates all of his adversaries, emerging victorious. Triumphantly, he puts Hebe's talisman back around his neck, symbolizing his belief that they can now be together. Next, Chiron visits Hercules, promising a reunion with Hebe. He reveals that Amphitryon and Iphicles are terrorizing the city, keeping the people in fear. Chiron then shows Hercules the queen's knife and delivers the heartbreaking news that his mother was killed by his father. Upon hearing this, Hercules mourns his mother's death, so Tyrus comforts him, vowing that they will avenge her as well. Next, as Hercules enters the village, he witnesses what Chiron had warned him about, as 5 of the king's men are taunting an old man and trying to confiscate his property. Hercules swiftly intervenes, teaching the guards a lesson through forceful action. After dealing with them, he sends 3 of the guards back to the king with a message that his son has returned. Amphitryon is enraged upon learning the news and calls for reinforcements from Egypt to help eliminate Hercules. He wants to make sure no one else dares to challenge him. Meanwhile, Hercules and Sotiris seek refuge in an unoccupied house. There, goddess Hera appears in flesh. She warns Hercules that although he is destined for greatness, it will lead him far from love. She advises him to accept his father, Zeus, and he will discover such power within him that he has never imagined. However, Hercules feels abandoned by Zeus, as he never provided assistance or protection when he or his mother needed it the most. That same night, Iphicles sneaks into Hebe's bedroom and insists that their marriage will happen regardless of her wishes. Hebe says that gods doesn't want this marriage and expresses her desire to avoid the marriage, to which he coldly adds that if she truly wishes to avoid it, she could take her own life. Upon hearing such, Hebe rushes to the tower and attempts to take her own life. Chiron intervenes just in time to save her. He urges her to have faith in the gods and warns her against making rash decisions. The next morning, Hebe arrives at a waterfall and is overjoyed to see her beloved Hercules emerging from the water. After couples share a romantic moment in the woods, and Hebe begs Hercules to run away with her so they can finally be happy together. However, Hercules refuses, staying true to his promise that they will be together in their own country once he has ended Amphitryon's reign. At the palace, Egyptian commander 𝐶𝐞𝐬, along with his soldiers, visits King Amphitryon, where he accuses him of mishandling the situation with Hercules. Upon hearing such accusation, the commander vows to correct his mistakes. So Tyrus finally returns home to reunite with his wife, only to find her dead, and soon his home is surrounded by Iphicles' detachment. Enraged, Sotiris attacks the soldiers, but Iphicles takes his son hostage, forcing Sotiris to betray Hercules. Next, the soldiers breaks into the safe house where Hercules is hiding, while Iphicles holds both Hebe and Sotiris as hostage, so that Hercules remains powerless. Next, Hercules is shown chained up and badly beaten in public, shattering the people's hope. Soon the king arrives with his men, mocking Hercules as an impostor and blaming him for bringing suffering and retribution to the people. Amphitryon then gives his sword to Iphicles, so that he can assert his dominance. Iphicles coldly stabs the elder Chiron. As Iphicles is about to kill Sotiris, Hercules looks up to the sky and pleads with his divine father Zeus, begging for the strength to save his friends and fulfill his destiny. Hercules summons his divine power and breaks free from the chains. He unleashes his almighty strength, attacking his enemies with fury, throwing and killing several of his adversaries in the process. After demonstrating his incredible strength, Hercules kneels beside the fallen Chiron, mourning briefly before Sotiris begins to escort him away. After witnessing such, the people are inspired and begin to join forces with him. Later, Hercules addresses his people, rallying them with a powerful speech. Inspired by his words, the people prepare to face the impending danger. As Hercules and his army approach the palace, Iphicles is about to marry Hebe. However, Hebe takes a stand and boldly declares her love for Hercules, stating that even if Hercules were to die, she would continue to love him. At the palace entrance, Hercules arrives with his troops, while confronts the archers and convincing to join his side. However, the battle quickly ensues, and they begins killing the king's guards. Soon the archers switch sides and join Hercules, turning against the king's guards. Hercules and his men advance toward the castle's main porch to confront King Amphitryon. However, the king has set a trap for them. Hercules and his troops are ambushed by a wall of fire, and soon surrounded by a detachment of Egyptian guards as well. To prevent more bloodshed, Hercules challenges Amphitryon to a one-on-one fight, but the king realizes he cannot win. He refuses to fight, not before telling Hercules to accept his fate and die. In this dire moment, Hercules looks up to the sky, and clouds gather above him. His sword is infused with his father's incredible power. Empowered by this divine strength, Hercules starts annihilating his enemies, swinging his sword with unmatched force. One by one, he defeats the Egyptian troops, causing most of them to fall as he turns the tide of battle in his favor. Witnessing such, Amphitryon flees to escape the danger. Hercules, determined to avenge his mother's death, chases him, The two engage in a fierce battle in Amphitrion's chambers, both showing their skill as neither is willing to surrender. Amphitryon proves a formidable opponent, but after a brutal exchange, Hercules gains the upper hand and prepares to behead his mother's killer. Suddenly, Iphicles intervenes, holding Hebe hostage with a dagger to her chest, demanding Hercules' surrender. Hebe, declaring her love for Hercules, plunges the dagger into her own chest, killing Iphicles in the process. Enraged by this, Hercules channels all his strength to defeat Amphitryon, and a deathmatch of sword begins. Hercules manages to gain an upper hand by overpowering the king. Hercules throws him around, and in the last moment, he uses the same dagger that killed his mother to stab Amphitryon in the heart, ending his reign immediately. After the battle, Hercules holds Hebe in his arms, vowing to never part from her again. A few months later, their son is born, and they enjoy their newfound happiness as a family. Hercules continues to rule Greece, bringing peace to the land. He often looks up to the sky, thanking his father. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.